Viewers, just getting a few live connections from New York on the breaking news that has come in about an hour back, that Salman Rushdie was attacked at that event in New York, which was happening at the Chautauqua Institution in Western New York. And we don't know the exact condition of Salman Rushdie. First to Smita, who's joining us from New York. Smita, you have any details of the condition? We got the pictures. Quite ghastly, but he walked off the stage. Are you getting any update on his present condition?
Yeah, so, we've been following this very closely. Of course, this is late breaking. As you mentioned, this happened within about the last hour and a half. So the latest is that he was stabbed as much as 10 to 15 times. So there is great concern about his condition. We've been following up with the hospital and with officials. We'll keep you posted. Right now, though, my sources are telling me it doesn't look good because of the number of times that he was stabbed, and particularly he was stabbed in the neck.
He was stabbed in the neck about 10 to 15 times. I'm quite surprised here. We have Professor Mark Merowitz of the State University of New York. Mark, I'm quite surprised there wasn't enough security around him, given the threat perception that he obviously still faces.
Well, I only know what I read, but I did read that the state police was present and did arrest the attacker. But I think it's a bigger question in terms of the idea that someone comes to Chautauqua. Chautauqua is an institution in America that has stood for freedom of religion, recreation, arts, expression, which is exactly what Salman Rushdie stands for. And can you imagine such a heinous thing? And this comes right after the news that the Iranians were targeting John Bolton and Mike Pompeo. And there was a fatwa out on Salman Rushdie. This is despicable and heinous and is just horrible. And of course, our prayers to Mr. Rushdie and his family.
Also is a wake-up call for everyone across the world on the dangers of extreme radicalization and so that there are no ways found to normalize things like this. The pictures came in. I'm also joined by Michael Tracy, journalist from Western New York. There were pictures, I'd like to run them full frame, of Salman Rushdie being taken to the hospital by a chopper, and he was being helped, and I can see there that he's obviously lying down on a stretcher and being taken. His exact condition not known, but the interviewer apparently suffered a minor head injury, and a state trooper then assigned to the event took the suspect into custody. But viewers, as we are watching this, Salman Rushdie faced threats over his book, The Satanic Verses, which is banned in Iran since 1988, as it has been seen to be blasphemous towards Islam by some. Michael, across New York, I mean, this really brings back, this would bring back a tidal wave of concern about radicalization and radicalized terrorism all over again.
Well, for viewers who might not be aware, this location is in far western New York. So it's about 7 hours driving distance from New York City. And so if you've been following the developments as I have, Salman Rushdie had to be medevac, meaning he had to be placed in an emergency helicopter and flown to a hospital. This wasn't a location where they could easily get him in an ambulance that would be properly equipped to go to the kind of hospital care that he would need. So well, obviously we're awaiting details, but a lot of what's come out already is pretty dire. There are images of blood splattered on a wall that have been coming out, and this is a very kind of quiet area. This is not a place like similar to Manhattan or something where you'd expect bustling and all kinds of activity that could maybe be consistent with threats. This I think would be shocking for people in this area to experience. I guess the one thing I would caution in a more broad political sense is that for people to just simply wait for the facts to come in before they make any extrapolations about culpability, or if they make any pronouncements about like what even a foreign policy type response would be. There have been a slew of allegations that have come out recently, including about a purported assassination plot conducted by the Iranian government against John Bolton, but those are mere allegations. They haven't been proven in court. And there is a pretty intense lobby in the United States that would like to see an even greater escalation of hostilities against Iran. Now, you can have a debate of whether that's prudent, but at the very least, I think it should be weighted until there are verifiable details as to
We're not,
the provenance of this.
I agree with you. We are not coming to any concerns, but across India also, a lot of people are watching this with a great deal of concern because he has been facing threats. But going back to Smita, otherwise, was Salman Rushdie leading a normal life? I mean, when he went around New York, he was, he attends various events. He's a well-known writer, celebrity. Was it a normal life for him? I mean, or did he have to carry any special security, given the fact that he's still considered to have a fairly strong security threat around him?
Yeah, by all accounts, what we know is that he led a relatively normal life. Of course, he did, have the security that any celebrity of his status would have. But here in New York, one thing I can tell you is that you do kind of blend in with people more easily. You can go about your day and not be as bothered as you would in some other cities, just due to how many people reside in New York. So yeah, by all accounts, he was living a normal life. And I will add too, one thing to remember, we all know that Iran had a specific $3 million bounty put on him, in the 1980s, which of course got, a lot of publicity. It made it, to him. And he always kind of dismissed these charges. He didn't seem very concerned about it. Someone of his status who does what he does, I guess he just thought that was in the norm, that there'll always be people that will put out these threats. And so by all accounts and what we know, he was just living, a normal life. And so this really has been pretty shocking. Just speaking with people today, it's been something that no one was expecting to happen right now.
Also because it's been 33, 34 years, maybe everyone felt the threat was behind him. But I would agree with Michael to that point that let's wait for the full details before finding out what the culpability is. But having said that, Michael, since you know the area, would you say that whoever carried out this attack would have planned this out? Because the itinerary would be known, the fact that he was speaking or being interviewed at this institution would have been known, so it would give enough opportunity for the attacker to plan things out. Also knowing that it's 7 hours from New York City, would know that, it would be perhaps easier to make him a victim in a location like that.
It's possible, this being a summer annual literary style event in far western New York, you'd probably expect security to be somewhat more lax than it might be in a major urban center. And that, in theory, could have factored into the planning of this individual. The preliminary images of him have come out. It seems like he might have some kind of tactical attire on. So, I mean, it would require some degree of planning, but this is not the most stringently patrolled area that one might ever encounter. So I don't know if it required that much complex planning to mount an attack like this.
Yes.
But who knows? I mean, there could very well be some deliberate motive as to why this particular event was targeted. I think, especially if it had been in New York City, right, he would have probably had to deal with a more visible police presence, and it might have been just more complicated to execute an attack like this. So, yeah, there might have very well been some deliberation, and it's not like this was a secret event or something that really needed a whole lot of planning to uncover. I mean, it was you would know that this was occurring just through a Google search.
Absolutely.
So, I probably shouldn't overstate that this is some kind of criminal mastermind at this point either, because it looks like any schmuck probably could have done this if they had, the violent zeal that would have been a prerequisite.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you all, Professor Mark, Michael, and Smita, for the updates. We're tracking this with a lot of concern everywhere, especially here in India. Thank you so much. Thank you.